session, friends, is definitely the chief guest for the day, Mr. Sanjay Dutt, who's a more than a dear friend. He's a fantastic human being. He has been a stalwart in the real estate industry, and for people to know, Tata is not only the largest landlords in India after the government of India, Tata is also the largest real estate company in the country, and that is now being headed by Mr. Sanjay Dutt. So the stage is all yours, and by the time you reach there, I would like, from becoming an entrepreneur at the age of just 21 to my stint as the MD and CEO at Tata, my life has been both adventurous and challenging. My journey entails past 24 years in the real estate sector in managing varied facets of real estate, including strategic planning and tactical implementation across key geographies of India. As the Managing Director and CEO of Tata Realty and Infrastructure Limited, he oversees 37 million of residential and commercial real estate development and management across 15 cities and 39 projects. For him, when you lead a company, you basically lead a set of people who are collaborating to drive value for the company. Friends, his multiple innings at Cushman and Wakefield, one from 2001 to 2008 as the joint managing director, and the other in 2012 as the managing director, were highly engaging and challenging, including the successful merger and integration of DTZ and C&W. C&W is, of course, Cushman and Wakefield. Prior to that, life was different. Being the CEO business with JLL and also having worked for over 5 years with CBRE, my spare time belongs to my family and friends. So, friends, that is the lovely gentleman in front of you. I know three Sanjay Dutts in my life. One Sanjay Dutt is an MLC, is a politician. Another Sanjay Dutt is an actor, very infamous one. And this gentleman, Mr. Sanjay Dutt, is a professional and leads large business house. I wish the actor Sanjay Dutt could look as well.
No.
So the stage is all yours.
Thank you. First of all, I don't feel that I'm the chief guest. I feel that you guys are the chief because I got the opportunity to meet you all and got to know you better. And also there are things that I took away from all of you. So that's very helpful. You've given me the topic of talking about successful strategies in today's market scenario.
Challenging scenario.
And I was wondering how to go about it. First of all, I think culture eats great strategies for breakfast. It's a very famous boardroom tagline. And strategies generally for future are actually dependent of your actions in the past. That's the way I see it. So journey for tomorrow must have began long time ago, which you have not realized. Because if you've not developed certain personality traits, you've not developed certain attitude and behavior, and you've not developed certain principles and values, and you've not nurtured those values that your parents, your education, all of that had given, and you not preserved those while actually doing business or a job, then you lost it all. So very often what happens is you go through a lot of education, but there is this desire to run fast and achieve fast and grow wealth or whatever, but you actually miss the real purpose in the process, and therefore you get confused because there's so much of information overload that you're trying to see which is a better therapy, which is a better approach, which is a better mantra for success. The simple mantra that I followed, I can only give my reference to all of you, so that will perhaps give you some clarity of what has worked for me. I simply wanted to do my job better. There is no twist to it. I took a decision when I was 15 years old that I will fund my own education. I was too young to fund, but I joined at that time during Asian Games. All the hotels were coming up in Delhi, and I became a student. and I said, I'm gonna make a living on my own, pay for my own education in the high school. My parents didn't know that I did. So I did that. During my graduation, because I had to fund my own graduation, I made sure that I pick up a sector and specialize in that sector. In those days, export houses were the big economy drivers. And I picked up warehousing, logistics, export, documentation, leather exports, garments, duty drawbacks calculation, etc. So every 3 months in between my graduation, I would just pick up and become a specialist. Worked my ass off, and I realized that I had gained enough knowledge to start my own company. So my first year after the graduation was my own enterprise. I opened a company called Fast Forward. Fast Forward was the first company after have a UK affiliation with TNC UK Limited and an RBI license to do foreign exchange. In those days, the foreign exchange reserves were very poor. So if you want to do foreign exchange business, you needed RBI license. So I was Fast Forward was the 5th organization to have a international license for soft cargo export. I became an aggregator for all the garment exporters who would send their samples to Europe and US. And they were using very expensive platforms like DHL and all. And I gave them an option. Then all the other logistics companies and courier companies who had no international network, trade lanes, overnight, many other across the country, they diverted their network across the country to Fast Forward, and I became an aggregator for that. And therefore, I was competing with DHL, TNT, Skypack, and everything. There was a challenge of scale, and therefore I felt I needed more arms and legs. I opened a franchise network of Fast Forward. I had 45 franchisees in over 20 cities in about a year's time. And my inbound cargo and outbound cargo to Europe and US multiplied by 10 times. I had 85 member team. I had 4 offices, including Mumbai, Delhi, Chandigarh, and Jalandhar. And I was focused more on export hubs. And with this 85 and 4 managers that I had at that point of time, the business was substantially large for somebody like me. The problem was I was very 21 years old. And therefore, the cash flow became a big issue. And there was a company which got listed at stock exchange, and they gave all their business to me, and my business just went through the roof. And then they tanked. So I scaled my business substantially, and at that point of time, there was only 15 lakh payment which they did not make in the year 90, 95, 90, thereabout. 94, 95. And therefore, I just felt disgusted with the way the people conduct business. Mind you, there was no experience of entrepreneurship before me and my family. We were mostly from services background. So for me, it was a learning. But the main purpose for me at that point of time was to make sure that the lenders get paid and my franchisees don't lose their business. So I woke up one morning and I said, I'm going to wind up my business, but I'm going to give, instead of selling my business, I'm going to give Fast Forward franchise to everybody free. So I had a stock of about 7 outlets stationery. I divided and sent it to everybody, and they were like not happy. TNC UK Limited was upset. They wanted to kind of invest in my company without any interest, and I chose not to take that money, and therefore I decided to do something else in life. So that was one part of the journey. The takeaway from this is that if you genuinely believe that you have the expertise and the knowledge, you don't need to know from anybody else. You don't need to know from anybody else that you do. you have to take that leap of faith. And worst case was, I mean, you may lose a little bit of it, you may have a little bit of stress, but you have to take that leap of faith, dive in. And yes, there will be some course correction on the way. There are certain things that you may not have approached it right. There's time for it, and you can correct that very easily. So I did that, and I was working on taking up a job at DHL in Singapore, when a very keen pair of eyes in Delhi at that point of time was watching me over 1 year. And the takeaway from that gentleman was that this guy can be trusted. I didn't know that at that point of time. So this guy can be trusted, and he has some innovative ways. So he was in real estate investments, and his objective was to identify distressed assets, litigated assets, sanitize those assets, and monetize those assets. And I remember he picked up a Wimpy building in Janpat, which if you're there from Delhi, right at Janpat, there was a Wimpy fast food chain from UK, which was rocking and competing with Nirvala's and McDonald's. It was the first McDonald's equivalent. And that building was purchased by this investor, and he wanted to sell it, flip it. And he asked me the question, and I said, there should be just one buyer for this place, and that one buyer should be Vikram Bakshi, the franchisee for McDonald's. If McDonald's wanted to launch their store, they should be here, and they're not here. We should sell it to him. I met Vikram Bakshi. He denied it, refused it, and 3 months later he paid for it. The takeaway for me was, if you genuinely understand the business, and if you analyze it very accurately, where the purpose would be served, you know exactly where you're headed. So I found myself very natural in real estate investments, and an opportunity came by where I interacted with the founder of and I did some business with them, and in the process they offered me a job. And they said, why don't you stay back instead of going to Singapore for DHL? And I stayed back. So I became a founding member of Rich Dallas. And then the first story, which is equally very unique, and I must mention, because that was the first transaction I did for Rich Dallas. There was a company called Amway. They entered India. They were growing. And the CEO of the company needed to move from Sandy Farms, which was a residential place, to a corporate office space. I got to know of it very late. So when I called the guys, they said, Sanjay, thank you for calling. It's just a coincidence that right now I'm getting into my car and going to sign the agreement for where we're going. So obviously it was disappointed because I had some ideas. And somehow I believe that the location that they're looking for and the purpose that they have and the ideas that I have deserves at least a look. Without shame, I was just persistent. And I said, I hear you. I don't want to impose on you. By the way, which route are you taking to this space? I said, what is this? Sanjay, we are going to sign. I said, I understand. I just want to know, how are you going? He said, I'm going to go through Kailash Colony to Nehru Place, and that's where they sign. I said, do you mind rolling down your window from across the road when you pass this plot number in Kailash Colony? He said, Sanjay, fine. I'll give it a shot. And there was this body language. This idiot doesn't get it. I'm signing the agreement. I'm going to kill it today. And this guy is taking advantage of me because I've been nice to him. That was his thoughts at that point. He rolled down the window. He looked outside. Curiosity of human beings. You must have come across. something made him, we still have time. Let me just step out the car, finish this thing, so that my mind is at peace, that I've not missed anything. It's like, let me look at another girl before getting married. Right? You know?
No, there are many in the room who do it even after getting married.
Let me just check. Let me look at a booking.com before checking into another hotel.
Yeah.
It's just human curiosity. And I was playing with that human curiosity at that point of time, with absolutely no expectations. Zero expectations. Because I was late to the party. Right? The guy goes in. I have no clue that he's gone. I'm sitting in the office. I get a call. Sanjay, can you come over for some time? That was the fastest car that I drove in my life. I made it from Connaught Place to Nehru Place in 7 minutes. It was pretty Maruti, not even Ferrari. And they needed 5,000 square feet. They took 30,000 square feet of it.
Wow. So the biggest takeaway here is the human curiosity.
Human curiosity, perseverance, persuasion. No, belief. When I did the inspection of this property belonged to Castrol Limited. And they had spent a bomb doing the corporate office. They went bust. And they were just 1 year old. It was leather cladded, everything was leather cladded, even the toilets were very leather. There's no way that you go in there and you don't fall in love. It was just that seducing, to say the expression. And this guy went for it. There was another complication in this transaction. I'm giving you, these are just case studies. I will share 3-4 more, and you will get the takeaways from it. The challenge in this transaction was the Castrol had spent 4 crores. They wanted 4 crore recovery. After a lot of negotiation, we said, okay, your depreciated value is this. You are at the far end of losing it. This will remain locked. You will never make money. Come to terms. And so I was able to manage to convince the owner of the property to buy the assets. And in the end, the Sardarji, the owner, and the corporate, the Castrol, came to a point which happens very often, and we are very familiar with egos. Very expensive in business to deal with. And if you have found yourself, despite the rationale of your business, the pricing, the attractiveness, the relevance, the significance of your business, on the wrong side of the table on ego, you're doomed. No rationale will help. It's so personal to people. The cost was, the gap was 13 lakhs. As a consultant, I was making substantial money. So I was with my, now the chairman of Rich Dallas in his 110E, and I was in Maruti. He said, Sanjay, this is not going to happen. I said, this just did? He said, what are you talking? What do you mean did? I said, this happened. It's closed. He said, how is it closed? There's a 13 lakh gap. I said, I'm making 55 lakhs. I'm going to pay 13 lakhs. And that's my fee. So me, it was closed. And I cut a check of 39 rupees. And I closed annually. Right? So it's a thought process that you need to apply for what you're gaining and what strategic advantage that you're getting in making things happen. I often tell people, there's a scene in this famous movie, the famous warrior, the Greek warrior. Brad Pitt is acting.
Yeah.
Troy.
Achilles.
Yes, when Troy goes for that battle, the body language that he presents is I'm going to win. I want to win. I need to win. I'm the winner. And he goes and does it. So if your journey has not started with a killer instinct in you that you have to achieve it, most likely you will never make it. Because you've already decided in your mind that you're only going to try. As simple as that. So it's actually the success of your business depends on you and your ability and your conviction and your own conviction of what you want to accomplish. It is not dependent on the other. So the extent of your success across, you are only limited by your imagination, not by the market. There is no thing called unlucky or luck and all that nonsense. All is bullshit. You're limited by your own conviction. Here, that's the takeaway. I'll give you, journey started from there. I was very clear early in my life that I will work for the top 3 companies in my sector. I will work to become a best professional. I have no desire to become the CEO. It feels very weird and awkward. I have never made a CV in my life. Never. Even today, when I was approached by a Facebook consultant for the previous organization, I was never so stressed in my life. But just putting together my, history and journey, and it was just painful task for me. I don't think I got it. I think they made it. They made it and they presented it. Even today, I don't have a copy of it. I just wanted to be the best real estate professionals in my life, and I want to do extraordinary things. I developed an attitude that I want to make every moment special. I want to make every moment special. How can I make the dinner that I'm going with my family special? How can I make the birthday of somebody special? How can I make the guy that I'm visiting as a client special? How can I do something which nobody has done before? I do that from morning to evening, every day, for the last 24 years. So I was telling to the jeweler, I love jewelry more than my wife. And I wanted to design jewelry for her. I said, okay, she has this unique gift. She has this character and personality. And I want that. So I designed jewelry and I got it made from Zoya. Guys who make the Tata brand. For the last 10, 15 years, I'm making jewelry for her. Wife only. And now daughter has got added. In the process, what happened, this is all behavioral aspects of your personality. I never went to the client for business. I never went to the client for business. I went to the client to make a difference, to make it special. So, my pitch started over a cup of coffee without any agenda. So when I'm not going to you for a pitch, right? I'm just meeting you. I have no agenda. Absolutely no agenda. And during this conversation, you're sharing your knowledge, your experiences, and a lot of stuff comes out of it. It gives the opportunity to the other to analyze you, right? Or what work that you do, or what you're capable of, whether you can be trusted, whether you're a bullshitter, do you sugarcoat too much? You take us to the path of the garden and then things fall, or you speak the truth. And I'll give you an example of a man called Was the CFO, treasurer, and gatekeeper of all his first is with the children, the family. He's the guy. Go to that. I didn't know that. I was the advisor to Nestle Limited. Nestle Limited wanted to set up a manufacturing facility in hill states where the tax benefits were there. So Himachal, Uttarakhand were the places they were given tax benefits. And I was doing the advisory why they should go there and what would be the size of the land, etc., etc. We had surplus land of 30 acres, which was suiting Nestle. Kushal said, fine. If this land doesn't come, then I go to Pantnagar, negotiate with the government, and buy the land from the government. Or I buy from you. The government valuation was disclosed by me very transparently. It was one meeting. In that one meeting, I articulated exactly what Nestle India Limited wanted, what the valuations were, what the requirements were. Was following what we call conventional negotiation strategy. What is conventional negotiation strategy? First, you start with the posturing at a high level. So it's called the opening position. Then after that, there is a fallback position. And then after that, there is a closing position. In between, there could be many other positions like Kama Sutra, but he didn't get it because I believed in absolute transparency and I was being dead honest of every letter of the word that I said. And he said, this much value per land, and let's see. I told you that this is what I can buy in Patna. All the excuses. We said, let's meet again. So your time is running out. So we don't meet. Because what do? I go and close with the government for Nestle. Calls up after 20 days. Kab aa raha hai? I said, whenever you want. क्यों बात नहीं करेंगे? कुछ I closed it. No, hang on. Why have you closed it? I said, the Nestle India Limited land is closed. How can you? अरे तूने क्या किया है? बात क्यों नहीं किया मुझसे? मैंने कहा बात किया था. तेरे से बात किया. तू माना नहीं. मैंने क्लोज कर दिया. Are you saying जो तू बोलता है वो करता है? क्या? Can you come and meet me? You're the only person I know who does what he says. The takeaway was that sometimes you don't need to unnecessarily think too much. You think you're going to outsmart the other guy. There is a brain. He is an outstanding professional. He understands much more than all of us put together. But he failed on judging a character.
His assessment of you.
His assessment of me. He died of stereotype. Correct?
Yes.
And that happens in life. Sometimes people lose. It's okay. You may lose a business. But if you have walked away from that business by creating an impression on the mind of somebody that you are highly credible, that's phenomenal. So what happens after this? So I go for a cup of coffee with Krishna. We become friends. The point I was making, when I go, I don't go with the agenda. I have no purpose. I'm not pitching. I'm not selling you. I'm just deepening my relationship. I am, say the word, it helps. Deepening my relationship. And building trust, building credibility, which is extremely valuable in this world. No matter how basic it may sound, Everything boils down to these things. I ended up he raised $3 billion by selling a share of his pharmaceutical business. $3 billion. Allocated $1 billion for his son to build a real estate company limited. And I was very fortunate that they said, Sanjay is going to help us. So then I created the roadmap, and we 50% of that capital, $1 billion, was spent by Sanjay Dutt for buying assets, including where they lived to.
The Worli Seekers house?
Yeah, fully. It was Unilever property, and I was an advisor to Unilever as well for many years. And I remember the conversation was, it was very subtle conversation, which means he was willing to pay a obscene sum of money. And I said, relax, you don't need to go back. Yeah, I get it. And we got it. Right. And obviously, it's a beautiful asset overlooking. But I also helped with real estate fund. And the real estate fund raised 40,000 crores rupees, and he wanted to spend that money as debt and equity with various other developers across the country. So after HDFC, which had a monopoly of 70% market share on debt in the country, was the only man after Deepak Parekh and K.G. Krishnamurthy who deployed 40,000 crores in less than 4 years. Who was the person who took all decisions of his investments?
I know the gentleman.
It was Sanjay Dutt who helped him deploy not all of 40,000, because I did that for something else, to pay, who to give loan, not to give loan, all of that. All started from
That one transaction for the land. Yes, cup of coffee.
Yeah.
deepening of relationship without purpose. Very important. If you have a motive, you are conflicted. You shouldn't have any conflict. So start early in your life. So the point I was making is it was not about strategies which are generally for future. The strategies actually start with your own personality traits and tenets, values and culture of the organization that you build on your foundation, and you preserve those values and make sure that you don't lose track of it and build a far more credible platform. I'm moving on to something which is very different. I was called in the boardroom along with his other partners in Hext House. They wanted to sell their Hext House floors in Nariman Point and buy 30,000 square feet in Kamla Mills, Rameshwari. And they said, Sanjay, I'm getting this asset for 11,000 rupees per square feet. Can you give us something better? It was just random, so I had no pitch, I had no presentations. I just went to the board and I listed every property in Mumbai. What did I do? I was the managing director, CEO of JLL, but I knew every property on the street. I knew every property's value, I knew every property's details. I can tell you those properties even now. And I also knew in which property the behavior of the seller will be a difficult one or easier one. Because I have had coffee with a lot of people. I had coffee with a lot of people. I knew who likes curd rice. I know who likes which Udupi where. I know who likes what during New Year. I know what their preference is, where they get their clothes stitched, what they do when they have nothing else to do. That only comes when you have more coffee. Without purpose, without agenda. So you have a network of people surrounding you, and you know everything. So when I listed these properties on the board, and they got tired of it because I took some time, and they were chairman of the company, I said, I think if I was to advise you where you should go to build a corporate identity of Motilal Oswal, these are 4 properties. But you will probably don't like this guy because he will charge you more carpet area, and he will, flip towards the end. He will flip flop, go back on his words, etc. This guy, you will definitely find some problems in the time. This guy is pricey, ego, but I can handle that. So if he was buying at 11,000 rupees per square feet, I had to deliver something which was less than 11,000 rupees per square feet and better. So I chose Crown Mills, Prabhadevi, who had done a joint venture. Yeah, and they had done a building of 1 lakh square feet. That building was being negotiated by franchise, Four Seasons. He wanted a corporate office there. He was willing to pay 12,000 rupees per square feet, which I knew. Market knowledge, knowledge of your assets, knowledge of your experience. That means you should know your shit then. Because at that moment, if I had not presented to the chairman and the board all the things and took them through the shortlisting and filtration process by myself, it would not have worked. Correct? That was the only window of opportunity, unannounced, unscheduled, unprepared, that I had to do. And I said, he's also setting up a real estate fund. He said, yeah. So real estate fund means they will put some money in real estate as well. I said, I know you need 30,000. I know you have a real estate fund. How about if I combine 30,000 and the fund investment together? Motilal said, if the deal is good, makes sense. I will. I said, so this is 1 lakh square feet building. You own 30,000 and you lease the balance, which is monetized under fund, and you have a corporate entity of your own and a very imposing building to showcase what Motilal Oswal is all about as a corporate brand builder. He said, but he's asking for 15,000. I said, yes, it is 15,000 rupees per square feet, and that's why it is 10,000 rupees per square feet. Can anybody want to answer?
5,000.
So it's English, I'll repeat. I said it is 15,000 rupees per square feet, and that's why it is 10,000 rupees per square feet.
Because of fund leverage?
No. Let's just get some juices up your brain right now. That's why it will help you. Think, otherwise you'll go to sleep. So I want that interaction. I'm seeking.
The quality of the.
That's bullshit.
Or they are getting the brand building?
No.
The leasing out.
No.
Leasing.
No.
It's the part you get.
No.
30,000. 70,000. Well played.
So these were finance guys. They thought they fucking knew everything. They discovered they didn't.
Location?
No.
3070. The
70,000.
Okay, you got your juices up. I'll share with you. As per the Maharashtra IT policy,
FSI.
if you are a non-banking and banking financial services, the building can be IT park, and you're entitled to be in it, and you get double the FSI. So if the FSI is 0.33, it becomes 2.66. I said this building is commercial. We'll buy this building and we'll convert it into IT park. You're a banking financial services, it suits you. So 1 lakh square feet building will become 3 lakh square feet building. So if you buy at 15,000,
It comes at 10.
and I add about 3,000 rupees further for the next build up and strengthening of the columns and all, 10,000 rupees per square feet.
Overall.
This was my first 2 hours with the chairman, and we had closed 165 crore, 1 lakh square feet building, which today stands at 3 lakh square feet building in Pravati.
Yes.
It's a gorgeous building.
It's a gorgeous.
And the way to go about it was normally developers sell built up area. And I knew this is a problem. You need to sell land conveyance with beneficial right of the land assigned to the owner and not just the built up area. And this is what I had. We got a deal of lifetime at 15,000 rupees per square feet. And then we call them for the inauguration of 3 lakh square feet. Right? Please come and inaugurate the shit that you did. And you lost 100 crores. Mr. Raja, he obviously was very sweet. Strategic thinking, sorry, time.
Yeah, time.
Yeah.
So one parting shot.
So I think it's a combination of your values, ethics, integrity, transparency, and deep relationship and trust, combined with your core of expertise and skills and experience, which you have to take a leap of faith if you think you're good. And if you're not good to be amongst the best in the industry, then what the hell are you doing in your life? If you're not amongst the best in the industry, don't do it. Chill. Do yoga. There are other things in life which wellness and health. Where's this lady who can actually help you live happily even despite making all these hardships? Right? Why do it? So if you want to do it, if you're not amongst the best, it's not worth it. You will be mediocre for the rest of your life. Do you really want to be mediocre? Tell yourself. And if you think you are really smart and have big egos, at least become one. Then have one. Right? If you become one and then have an ego, it's okay. You earned it. But don't give people the attitude and arrogance if you have not accomplished the best in the industry. Never show up. Do yoga. So that's my parting shot.
Thank you so much.